Okay, let's go. Books out. We'll do that. We'll do it at the end. Page, stop me 10 minutes at the end of class and we'll do that. Okay, page 58. Oh, wow. Your midterms. They look good. They look good. I didn't grade them. Do you know how much work it is? I have like 120 midterms to avoid until next week. You know, that's a lot of work for me. I'm not myself, you know. Okay, you know what? But you can't. There's only multiple choice Scantron, right? You can't do Scantron. I do short answers. I can't do multiple.
I like that. I think multiple choice is much easier to correct.
You know what? For me, it was the easy way out. Scantron, just put it into the machine and and it comes out with the grade. Fail. Much easier for me. I have to sit there like putting like D's and F's on my paper, and Scantron does it for me. Kidding.
But your kids can help you.
Let's discuss. We did the sukkah in great detail. What it looked like, why it looked like, the roof, the walls. We spent so much wonderful, juicy time doing that. Let's discuss the Daled Minim. Computers only open to blank pages, please. The Daled Minim. What does that expression even mean? The Daled Minim. The four species. The four species. What? Yeah, the four species. What are we going to do with them? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the Torah first of all.
We finished everything for Sukkot?
Yeah. Oh, we'll do at the end. We'll do more of the some more specific halachot of Sukkah as well. All right. We'll discuss the ideas, but we'll do the halachot of Sukkah in more detail. Page 58. All right. We'll do the halacha packet at the end. Let's look at the Daled meaning. Ulekachtem lachem. Look inside. Remember, these are Torah verse. Torah verse you got to know. Ulekachtem lachem. You've got to. All these words are very precious. All right, they're going to teach us something. I just mean that, like, theologically. I mean, they're going to teach something. You should take for yourself, by Yom HaRishon, on the first day, pre-Eitz Hadar. Pre-Eitz Hadar. What is that? Pre is a fruit. Eitz is a tree, so it's a tree fruit. Well, where else can fruits come from? Not from trees. They can come out of the ground, right? What's the difference between a ground fruit? What's the difference between a Bari Eitz, now we're on the topic, and a Hadama? Why would you make a Ha'etz on an apple? Why would you make what bracha would you make on a pineapple? Pineapple? Ha'adama. Banana? Ha'adama. Mango? Ha'etz, yeah. What is the difference between those two blessings? Why do we make different blessings? They both are fruit, both are growing on trees, supposedly, yeah? So some of it could be a little bit of the height. There's a question by blueberries, actually, or the exact blessing. Some say Hadoma, some say Eitz. I make Hadoma. However, it's whether the tree is this the right expression? Perennial? Is that the right thing? Does it stay all year as a tree? It has a bark and a trunk, it says the entire year, or does the entire plant come down like a banana tree? It's actually a plant because it comes actually a berry, a banana, interestingly enough. Okay, so the difference is that a banana is hadoma because the plant goes down, pretty much the whole plant regrows every year. Right? They try a trunk, if you will. So that remains a hadoma. Okay? So we're dealing here with an eitz, which means it's a real tree. Pre-eitz, hadar. What does hadar mean?
Pretty.
Hadar. Right. Okay. Is that me? Oh, I'm in the fruit. I've got something there. Hadar. What other word can you see in that word, by the way? Right? Beautiful, right? Beautiful, pretty. What else can you see in there? Any other word you can see in there? Just for interest. Door. That's interesting. Yeah, that'll be the vav in the middle, I think. What's dar mean? What's a dira? Apartment where you live, right? Dar is to live. Okay, we'll see that one of the ways we identify this tree. Oh, what's this referring to, by the way? It's the etrog. It's going to be the etrog. Okay, it's going to be one of the four. The etrog. Okay, and one of the traits of it is that it lives. It lives on the tree. Well, don't all fruits live on trees? Don't all fruits live on trees? Well, here, what happens when an apple ripens? It falls off, right? You go to an apple orchard, there's like apples everywhere, you know, when you went as kids to an apple orchard. Or you go to an orange orchard, there's oranges on the floor. The etrog is actually a very unusual fruit. There's a few attributes to an etrog tree that are unusual. And one of them is its dar ala eats. It lives on the tree. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And actually, it could be damaging to the branch because it comes so heavy, eventually you can break the branch as well as it comes down. Phones away, please. As it comes down, okay? So it says you're going to take this pri etz hadar. It's going to be a beautiful fruit, and that is the etrog, okay? Kapot tamarim. Kapot tamarim, what is that?
Dates.
Well, tamarim are dates, you're actually right. But it says kapot, which supposedly are the branches, right? The date, the fronds, it's called the frond of a date tree. Okay, that's referring to what? Of the Daled Minim? That's referring to, that's the etrog. Put in parentheses because that's not mentioned in the Torah. What's this? This is the lulav, that is correct. The lulav, that's a palm branch. Right? It's a palm branch. You seen a palm tree? Right? I lived on kibbutz for 1 year. After I finished university, we lived on a kibbutz called Sde Eliyahu. We studied in yeshiva for a couple of months, and we went to volunteer work. We did all this kind of stuff. I went to study in a college over there, and we lived, and there was palm trees all over. They manufactured dates. It was very easy to get a date over there. And they used to basically, and what happened, they would go on Erev Sukkot, and they would dish Sukkot on the trees, they would cut it off, they would strip it down, and you got yourself a lulav. There it was. Right, ready to go, off the palm branches. Yeah. So where? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, interesting. Could be. It's one of the few religious kibbutzes that are left in Israel. Okay, Va'anaf eitz. Va'anaf eitz avot. What is that? An anaf eitz avot. So that is the hadassim, correct? Which is the myrtle. Okay, that's the hadassim. Okay, the myrtle branch. Now, anaf eitz avot. Okay, the arve nachal. Arve nachal. What's that? So nachal is a something by a stream or a river, and these are branches which go by a river. So what exactly is that? And that refers to the willow branches. The willow. That's the fourth one. Yeah. Right.
What is it? Anaf 8?
Anaf eitz. Yeah. Anaf eitz avot. It's a plaited branch.
We need to know the vote part also.
Yes, you got to know every word in this pasuk. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, marvelous, fantastic. And these are the aravot. Okay, these are the aravot. Okay. And that is the willows. Right. These are generally the branches that are by water. They grow by water. They hang over water places. So these are the 4 species, and we know through the oral tradition, through the Gemara, what these 4 items are. Why these particular 4 items, what they represent, what we're doing with them, we have to see. Well, first of all, one thing we have to mention, which is going to link to what we discussed before, what time of year are we celebrating Sukkot? What time of year are we celebrating Sukkot? What's happening agriculturally at this time? Is it dry? Is it freezing out there? What's happening? It is the end of the summer, going into the fall, and we said that's when all the grains and crops are coming in to your homes. We discussed that in detail. So you're gathering all the crops. So this is a time of plenty, and this is the time of year where all the trees and plants are coming up. The Mishnah in Sukkah says, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Shlosha Hadassim. You're going to have to take 3 of the Hadassim, Shtei Aravos, 2 of the willow branches, Lulav Echad, 1 Lulav, Ve'etrog Echad, and 1 Etrog. Really? Just take them. Well, what does it mean, take them? How does it take them, by the way? All right. Well, it says, Ulakachtem lachem. Ulakachta means you've got to take them. You've got to own them. You've got to have them. And you've got to put them together. We're going to see you put them all together. Okay? Now we're going to add in shaking a little bit later, but actually the mitzvah is, and we'll see later on, when you make the blessing over this mitzvah, which is a Torah mitzvah obviously, you take them, make the blessing, and you hold them together. Okay? Hands up here, those ladies who make a blessing over shaking the lulav and etrog.
I've never done it, but I've seen it.
You never done it? Never shaken a lulav and
Me
etrog before?
done it? No, but
You've never actually held it and shaken a lulav and etrog before?
Women
but
are
that's
smart.
men do that.
So, very good question. So the difference is this. Ashkenazi women will take it with a bracha, and they'll make a blessing on it. Sephardim, actually, they can shake it.
Oh, okay.
They can. They don't make a bracha. Right? Because it's mitzvah shezman grama. Right? The Sephardi poskim go with that we don't make a bracha on it. We'll get to that in more detail, okay? But it is a mitzvah. It's a Torah mitzvah, and it's a shezman grama. It's caused by time. Okay? It's a time of year and a time of day. It can't be a night time. You do this by day. Yeah.
For Sephardi women, then, would it be like, would they still get the mitzvah just for shaking?
Sure. I think that's a mitzvah for it. It's not obligated, but they do. Okay, let's look at the Rambam in the laws of Hilchot, Shofar, Sukkot, and Lulav. And he's going to give us a little bit of information so we can pull a pattern of what's going on over here. Why are we taking random fruits and species and shaking them? I actually found a great news story someone sent me of a guy who was actually stopped by the police. And the story was like a non-Jewish paper. And he was walking along, and he was wearing a man with a black coat and a black hat was carrying a bag with a suspicious-looking weapon inside. And something, but it was okay. They let him go. It was a willow branch. It was a palm branch, rather. They let him go. Okay. Arba minim. These four species, page 59. Let's read the Rambam together. Nice, easy Hebrew. Arba minim elu mitzvah dachas hein. These four species are not four mitzvot. You may have thought that. Because you look at it, it looks like it's four. He says, no. This is one mitzvah. Right, hen, right, and they're all required, for the performance. You've got to have all four. Three ain't going to do it for you. Just like you can't have, tefillin with only 3 chapters rather than 4 parashiot, right? You can't have Sefer Torah which is missing, 4 columns. This is, not a good example, but this is a 4-part mitzvah, and although it's listed as separate things, it's actually one thing. Okay, that's interesting. Why that would be? Why not for mitzvah? The kula nikra mitzvah lulav, and we give a general title that is a mitzvah of lulav. It doesn't say, we don't call it mitzvah etrog, right? We don't. It's interesting, right? Or mitzvah hadasim. It's one mitzvah. All 4 becomes one, and the title we give all 4 is mitzvah of lulav. The ain potchen hen. You're not allowed to reduce the amount. Vein mosivin alehem, and you can't increase the amount. You can't try and say, oh, I love these 4, but wow, would I love to shake an orange as well? Right? Honey, get me an orange. Right? That's called mosif on mitzvah. You cannot be mosif. You cannot add to the number of items in a mitzvah. You can't add an extra chapter to the tefillin, a 5th one. And you can't add an extra species to the dalim. It's got to be 4. 4 is the key number over here, and it has to be the right ones. Okay? If you have 3, and you don't have an etrog, so you use a Oh, I had a great story, by the way. I'm full of stories now. I've got a friend of mine in my synagogue. He's a Lubavitch Chassid. He was totally secular. And he said he went to Israel. It was the Hebrew U. Hebrew U? Or maybe the Technion. He's a very successful guy in he's a scientist. Anyway, he said when he got there, he saw these people walking around with this. He's like, wow, I want to do that. He went to buy a lemon, for like 20 cents. And he bought like a palm branch, and he said he was just walking around the streets, just like shaking this everywhere. I said, you know what? I said to him, Chaim, I said, that shaking, that was a real kavanah. He may not fulfill the mitzvah, but the intention is something, and your intention was there. Okay, you look like a madman with a big lulav and a lemon walking around shaking all day. Oh, you see that email? Sorry, my head's elsewhere today. You saw that email of a non-Jewish woman tweeted, it got very big in the Jewish world. She says, I'm walking around Manhattan, and a man holding a lemon and a large asparagus just asked me if I was Jewish. How funny is that? Is that good? A man holding a large lemon and an asparagus asked me if I was Jewish. So good. I need life. Okay. The ain't potken, so you cannot add to it. It's 4 and only 4, and it's actually considered 1 mitzvah. You get 1 mitzvah for shaking the lulav and etrog. We call it lulav and etrog, but it's actually the lulav. The imlo nitzem achad mehem. Let's say you don't find one. Right? And by the way, now we get a fork, we travel, but you go back to Europe, right? Getting hold of a lulav, okay, in Italy they have, Morocco they have, right, in Israel they have, but it's very difficult. In most communities, they didn't have the dalet minim. Or they managed to bring one that were very expensive, And the entire community had to shake the same one. They literally just took one, gives one else, and he shook it, he gave it to his friend. Right? It wasn't so simple. You're in the middle of Europe, freezing cold in Poland, and someone turns out, here, I got an etrog. It was a big thing, you know? So he says, let's say a person brings you only 3. You can't bring another species that looks like it. There's no substitution. It's like, oh, I can't find an etrog, I'll use a lemon. I can't find a lulav, I'll use an asparagus. It's not going to work. Okay? So it's these 4, and as we say in Hebrew, dafka these 4. Only these 4. That's what the Rambam begins with. And he says, I tell you that there's the best way to do it. Mitzvah and Muchav, an expression, means the best way to do the mitzvah. Right? The best way to do it. La'agud lulav hadasev arava, to gather together, we're going to wrap together the lulav, the hadas, and the arava. Lulav is the palm branch. The hadas are the myrtle leaves. The arava is the willow branch. Just for interest, hadasim, hadasa, right, is the singular. Who had that name? Esther. Esther from the Purim Seder was her real name. Why was her real name Hadassah? Anyone know? An extra credit? Next semester's Purim class.
I didn't know she was.
Her name was Hadassah. In the beginning, that was her real name. Hadassah means, yeah. She was very green. Some say she had a beautiful Persian olive green complexion. And the other was when she found out she had to marry that Meshuggah Achashverosh, she went green in fright and stayed green. That's what the Ma'am Loez says.
But some people say that what was beautiful about her was their inside.
Oh, absolutely. She was very true. Very true. No, she was very, very beautiful. She was a beautiful woman. But her beauty came from inside. Now, Esther was no Sephardi. There was no Sephardi. She just came. We're trying to claim ownership.
But what does Hadassah have?
She wasn't Ashkenazi, that right now, that's for sure.
And what does Hadassah have to do with that she was green?
Because Hadassah are very green leaves. Hadassah are very green leaves. Yeah. Okay. Now he says, you know what? This whole thing, taking these 4 together, these taken together, you know what? There's a better way to do the mitzvah, and that is to wrap together. We'll see why this is. We'll see some philosophical ideas as to why this is important. Wrap together, valasot shloshtan aguda achat, to make them into one aguda. What's an aguda? Aguda is one bundle. Bundle them together and wrap them up. Do we do this nowadays? Do we do this nowadays?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely we do. We wrap the lulav and the hadassim and the aravot and we gather them together. Different communities, different ways. The Ashkenazim actually make a little baskety thing and then put the items inside each basket and then hold on to that. By the way, why is that allowed? Right? Isn't that like an interference, a chatzitza, an interference? Because it's made of the original item, so it's considered part of it and it's not a problem. The Sephardim follow different minhagim, but they'll take little strips and just tie it together. Okay? So there's an idea of bundling it together. Aguda achas. We'll see why that's important. Okay?
So you can't take let's say you have a nice ornament piece of wrap.
No. If you want to use some random string, that is totally forbidden. You can't wear gloves, or it has to touch your skin. Right? And otherwise you have an interference, and then it is a aguda. It's considered to be, it's considered to be a chatzitza. Chatzitza means an interference between your hand and the item of mitzvah. You should actually hold on to it. Okay? Ukeshu noklam, 3rd paragraph, page 59. Ukeshu notlem, letzet behen mevarach tchila. First we make the blessing, al netirat lulav. Right? That's the blessing you make on it. Right? And he says, the mitzvah is on lulav. You say al lulav, because all the other items, you don't make it al etrog, al hadassim, because all the others are part of that mitzvah. Right? It's the collective term, the lulav. Why the lulav stands out, and actually does literally stand out as well, we may see a little indication possibly of that, but later why it follows the lulav. V'kulan smuchin lo, v'achar kach notel aguda hazot, b'yamina, put it in your right hand, v'edrog l'smolo, you take it into your right hand, you take the esrog in your left hand, v'notlin derech, gedulos, and you hold them the way they grow. Right? So you don't hold it upside down, you're going to hold it the way it grows. Okay? Now, just for interest, there's a concept when it comes to making blessings, brachot, called ovel asiyatan. You make a bracha right before you do the act. Right before you do the act, do the bracha. Right? Ovel asiyatan. So before you bite into an apple, you have to hold it in your hand, you make the blessing, you bite into it. Oh, that's not a mitzvah, but the same concept applies. You don't make a blessing and walk around for half an hour and take a bite out of something. It's got to be right before you do it. Okay? Right before you do the mitzvah, you do it. So once the mitzvah is done, it actually could be too late for the blessing. Actually, it's not, but it could be. You want to do it right before. So at what point is the mitzvah actually happening? When you take this. So the idea is when you gather all four together, it becomes one mitzvah. Because in your right hand, you're going to have the three species. In your left hand, you're going to have the etrog. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold them, and once you bum them together, it's done. So you make the blessing, and then they're together. That's the action. The action is bringing them together. Okay. When we review the halakha, we'll do this in more detail. But the action is to gather these four species together. Now, it happens to be, I've seen different ways of doing this. The Ashkenazim, any Ashkenazim here? How do you do it?
How do what?
How do you Ashkenazi? No. How do you make the blessing? If you make a blessing,
Separately.
hold it separately and
And then you flip
upside down, right? I was going to say, I hold it upside down, right? You make the blessing, hold it straight up. The Sfardim, we don't have the custom. We actually put the etrog down, hold the lulav, make the blessing, pick up, and boom. Okay, that's the mitzvah. I'm just putting the mitzvah point itself is a gathering together. That's going to be important. There's a reason why that's going to be. We'll see some philosophical ideas of why at that point the mitzvah is clicking, the mitzvah happens. Okay?
Why don't we say al literal lulav and not?
So we have to look at that. Why the lulav? That's the Rambam started with that. He says we use the lulav refers to all the four species. Why that one stands out more than others? The whole mitzvah is named after it. We'll look at some possible explanations. I have one, I think at least I can give you for that. Okay? So as he says, mitzvah kilchata, sheyigba aguda shel shlosh minim. You take these three, piyamin, v'etrog was small, v'yola v'yavi, v'yala v'yored, v'yanev v'lulav, shlosh pamim b'chol ruach v'ruach. He says, you're going to take these species, and you're going to put them together, and actually that fulfills the mitzvah. But he says, you know what? You're going to do something else there. You're now going to shake them. You're going to shake them, not nail them. You're going to shake them in all the different directions. Okay? You're going to go forwards and backwards and up and down and right and left. And here, if you walk into a synagogue, right? You go into a Sephardi synagogue, they do it one way. And Ashkenaz do it another way. And the Chassidim do it. And everyone has their own different ways of shaking stuff, shaking it around. All kafi minhag. The basic is, though, each way 3 times is a basic minimum. You want to get all different directions. Okay? What are we doing? Shaking random fruits, items. What is this all about? Anyone interested in what you're doing, or are you just happy to walk around life just shaking random fruit products? And someone says, what do you do? I don't know, I get a thrill out of shaking palm branches. Let's try to see some significance that the Chazal bring down. Turn to page 60. And we're going to see that these 4 species represent 4 elements of the Jewish people. Okay? These 4 species represent 4 elements of the Jewish people. You know what? Let's write this down. So we have a little map of it all. Okay? Okay. So, we'll start with the lulav. Okay? Start with the lulav.
Is there like a parallel between this and the 4 on Pesach?
The
Don't those
4
also signify 4 different
cups
types
of
Jews?
wine that we drink on Pesach. You want to say the 4
I'm talking about
questions?
the sun here.
Oh, the 4 sons. There's a lot of 4s on Pesach.
Oh,
It could well be. I mean, the number 4 has relevance. What the number 4 represents definitely connects them. Definitely connects them. Pre-Eitz Hadar. What is this pre-Eitz Hadar? Oh, start with the etrog. Start with the etrog. I'm sorry. Start with the etrog. Okay, we start with the etrog. The pre-Eitz Hadar. Okay? The etrog, the pre-Eitz Hadar, he says, oh, what is that? That comes from a beautiful smelling tree. Elu Yisrael. This is the Jewish people. Ma etrog zeh yesh bo tam v'yesh bo reach. I tell you what it's got. This etrog has got taste and smell. Yeah? It tastes good and it's got a beautiful smell, right? You know, whatever it touches smells good. I mean, is it amazing? From my childhood, you know, I want to just mention this for a second. You know, smell, I never mentioned this in the class before. Smell has great significance in Jewish thought. Right? First of all, just on a deep level of just like the smells we grew up with influence us later on in life. We smell certain things, right? They say the olfactory system of smelling takes you back to your childhood fastest. I walk into my kid's school, I smell the detergent on the floor you were talking about, and immediately I'm taken straight back to the principal's office. Right, whatever it is. Right, but you smell, it takes you right back. Or a beautiful smell, the smells of your mother's cookie when you're growing up. These things influence us. That is not a coincidence. We know that in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, the Jewish people, Adam and Chava, sinned by eating from the tree of knowledge. By the way, what was that original fruit, since we're on the topic? Different opinions. Some say it was fig, which by the way it probably was, to use the fig leaf afterwards. Some say it was, no, the apple does not appear anywhere in Jewish thought. That is a Christian idea. Yeah. It doesn't appear anywhere in Jewish thought, which is fascinating because
From where did they get there? Was it
when I was in Italy this summer, I was in the Sistine Chapel where Michelangelo drew the whole roof over there, and here's a scene of the Garden of Eden. And only in Jewish sources do you see it described as anything else besides an apple, as far as I know. And he depicts it as a fig. And right, Benjamin Blythe actually has a book written on this, and he says Michelangelo was greatly influenced by Jewish thought and Kabbalah. It probably was a fig. There is an opinion, though, that it was an etrog. That it was an etrog.
I once heard that Michelangelo was Jewish.
He wasn't Jewish. He definitely was not Jewish. However, he hated the church, which was extremely corrupt, and he couldn't stand the Pope. It was very, very corrupt. And that's why he was Sistine Chapel. There's nothing Christian at all. It's all Old Testament, all Torah, by the way.
He painted the Vatican.
I'm saying the Sistine Chapel. That's it. That's the center, and there's nothing at all. No Jesus up there. He's not up there. His mother's not up there. Right? The whole thing is like all Old Testament. It's fascinating. And some of the stuff he drew there, if you read this book, Benjamin Blythe, what's it called? Sistine Secrets. Great book. Great book. Great book.
But David, the statue wasn't
Statue-
circumcised.
That's absolutely true. It was not. And there's reasons why he did that. Very, very true. Yeah.
So I feel like the tree in the Garden of Eden was an etrog because aren't you not allowed to eat from an etrog? I heard you can't taste it and you can't rip off the stem.
The pitum. So during Sukkot we cannot. Afterwards, however, you're allowed to use it. I thought it was people make etrog jelly and jam. There is, take this with a pinch of salt, not the etrog, this idea, that if a lady wants an easy birth, a lady color, she should bite off the pitum from the etrog. I had a friend of mine, I'm just telling you what happened. I'm not condoning this behavior. He went to visit a rabbi in Israel, and the rabbi told him, he said, my wife has difficult births. She has a lot of difficult births. He's a big, my big Talmud Chacham, this friend. We went to see a big Mekubal in Eretz Yisrael. He said, no problem. He took an etrog that he used on, and he cut, this is after Sukkot, right? And he cut into it some name on it. He says, she eats this, he let the kalash, and he's like, boop, straight out. Like, sorry, I'm sorry. So but he had to eat it every day. He had to get another bite out of it and eat it. But it was like yellow by the end. It's like a 39-hour labor. It's completely. I'm sorry. I don't want to read. You want a Sephardi version? It came straight out. Everything was fine. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Sorry. So afterwards is fine. Afterwards is absolutely fine. But there's something about the etrog tree that we know has certain, and the Gemara speaks about it. The Gemara speaks about it and does compare it to apple trees in general, but in the Gemara for sure. Okay, but it was not an apple tree in Gan Eden. The etrog has certain status. It definitely does. Okay, so I wanted to say, now they sinned in Gan Eden. I got off topic as usual. They sinned in Gan Eden. They saw the fruit. They desired it by seeing it. Right? They heard Hakadosh Baruch Hu's tzivoy, that Hashem commanded them not to eat of the fruit. Yeah, they tasted the fruit as well. What they didn't do was smell it. So they say that the faculty of smell, reach, we're teaching smell, right? Faculty of smell, which is reach, is not affected. It is not affected by outside source. It's a very pure, so that's why reach is smell. But how do you say spirituality? Ruach, ruchniut, right? It's connected. Ruach, right? Smell. There's something very, very I'll tell you a side point over here, which God will do my course on Mashiach. One of the ways you know you found Mashiach is he has a very, very prophetic sense of smell. When Bar Kochba tried to become Mashiach, or he was put up for that position, they tested his sense of smell, see if he could use it as a form of prophecy. He was not able to, and he wasn't Mashiach. They actually use his sense of smell to identify if you're the Mashiach. Come to my Mashiach class, you get more information on that. Fascinating enough. So the sense of smell is untainted. All the others were blemished, but the sense of smell remained pure and spiritual. So smell over here, let's just go back and do this. Hold on question for 1 second. It's got tam, it's got taste, right? It's got tam, right? It's got taste, and it's got reach, it's got smell. And that's a good thing. Why? What does taste and smell equal? So too, Bnei Adam yesh behem Torah, v'yesh behem masim tovim. Okay? Because they have Torah, and they have masim tovim. Action, good actions. So the etrog represents, through its reach and tam, people who are knowledgeable, and they do good stuff, they do good actions. That's the etrog. That's the best fruit. We love it. Okay. But then, there's the other 3 fruits. We have the kapo tamarim. So now that represents Yisrael, says the Midrash. Ma hatmara zu yeshbo tam ve'ein bo reach. Okay. So now we're at the tamarim, right? It's got tam, it's got taste, right?
These all symbolize
But no smell. Okay, so the tamarim, that's the, right, so he says tamarim? Yeah, that's the date branch, this is the lulav over here, right? The lulav, yeah? Right, palm branch is the lulav. They have, so what does that represent? That represents those who have Torah. They got Torah, right, but no good deeds. They're very learned, but they don't get involved in doing good stuff, right? They're full of information, but there's no goodness in them. They don't do anything good with the information. That's the lulav. So the lulav, right? Change that, sorry. That's the tamarim, which is the lulav over here. Okay? Let's get rid of this lulav over here then. What are we left with? So he says, but there's a third type. The Anatz Eifavot, El Yisrael, there's certain Jewish people like the Hadassim. What are the Hadassim like? The Hadassim people. As we're saying over there, right? Hadassim, do they have smell, taste? What do they have? They have smell, yesh bo reach, ve'ein bo tam. So they got smell, no taste. Smell, what's that? People with
no knowledge.
good deeds, but no knowledge, yeah? They do a lot of good stuff. Right? But they have no Torah. They're ignorant of Torah. Right? They don't know how to do mitzvah. They're nice people. They do good stuff. Right? Ve'ein behem Torah. The Arvei Nachal, who's that? That's the willow people. What's left?
None of the above.
They got neither of both. Let's have a look inside Arvei Nachal Yisrael. There's certain Jews. Ma'aravazu ein bolo tam v'lo reach. They got neither. Right? The Arava has neither. No taste, no smell. Yeah? No Torah, no mitzvot. No Torah, no mitzvot. Right? That's the worst of all the 4. Okay? Now look at the beautiful midrash. Look at this midrash is beautiful. Look inside. So far looks like, what are you doing over here? You're like categorizing Jews into Torah knowledge and actions. Is that what we're about? And we're separating them out and we're holding them all apart. What do we say, Sarah James? We put them all together, very nice. He says, what do we do to them? He says, I can't destroy them, right? He says, let them all come together. Ella, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yoksheru Kulan, let's tie together, Aguda Achas, let's put these 4 species, i.e., let's put these 4 types of Jews together, then Kaparim Elu ve'elu, and they're going to be Machaper one or the other. Each one is going to Machaper on the other, meaning that they're going to influence each other. Now, just for interest, when you put them together, what goes where? Here's the lulav in the middle, nachon. On the right, you put the hadassim, right? And we Sfarim actually mix it up, different ways of doing it, and on the left goes the aravot, and then the etrog. So the etrog is closest to the, like it's like this, right? It's like, and then it's like that, and it's, right? And then the etrog is like that, right? Without a pitum. Okay? So the aravot, right? The aravot are the one that have no taste or smell. Where do they end up? End up next to the etrog. What happens to anything that touches the etrog?
So the etrog will.
The smell comes out of your hands, right? So you actually, when you put them out guda achat, so these are bundled together, and then you attach the etrog over here for the mitzvah. So it ends up being that we're actually gathering together, but you're putting together the etrog people together with the Aravat people. We want to influence them at the time of mitzvah. At the time we want to influence, and we put those together. Okay? We don't ignore and throw away any one of the Jewish people. And look at the end, it says mechaprim. Mechaprim is a Yom Kippur kind of word. So we see that there's some kind of continuation of Yom Kippur that is being invested into these 4 species, which we mentioned before was another reason that Sukkot falls right after Yom Kippur. Yeah.
I was gonna say, why do you want the willow with no taste or smell to influence the etrog?
Very, very good question. Very good question. I heard in the name of the Lubavitch Rebbe. So I didn't see it inside, but I heard. But I've seen other, I see someone to this. He says, what we want to do is, and this you'll see, it fits in with that paradigm of the, you want to influence, you want the good to influence that we don't have. Okay? So it's going to influence that way. You're like, oh, but you can influence that way. It can also go that way, can't it? Right? You don't want to hang out, right? Pirkei says, stay away from bad neighbors. Here, but when a mitzvah is happening, there's no bad influence. At the time of mitzvah, we put them together. When there's no mitzvah, we separate them. They're kept in separate boxes. You hear? But when the mitzvah is happening, boom, they gather together, and they only positive influence. So if you want to influence someone, but if you're hanging out and not have a mitzvah, then the influence can go the other way. It's all about timing, is it not? Yeah, is that a nice answer? That's a good answer. Yeah. Should we do the next piece? Okay, let's look at the Sefer Chinuch, page 61. Chloe, you're my timekeeper today.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes.
What do you mean 3 minutes? What time is it?
11:13.
11:13? Okay. Says the Sefer Chinuch. Misharsha mitzvah. What is the root mitzvah? And the sharsha means the root. Here is not meaning. It means what is this about? So the Sefer Chinuch is going to give the explanation for this mitzvah. And he says like this. Oh, this you've recognized before. Shahadam nifal kafi pulatav. Remember that? A person's... Did you do that in this class?
Yeah.
A person is influenced by their actions. Even Mashiach class.
Yeah.
You said it there. Hadam nifal kafi It's all Hajj of classes, one big aguda achas, right? Okay, a person is influenced by their actions. Okay, why don't we just think this? Hey, all Jews are together. It's a nice season. Just think it. No, it's not enough. People are influenced by their actions. If you haven't heard that expression before, take it now with a highlighter and highlight it. It's going to be on your finals. It's a very important expression. Adam nifal kafi pulatav. A person is influenced by their actions. Okay?
What is it in Hebrew?
Adam, a person, page 61, top line, and the Sefer Chinuch.
Thank you.
Adam, this is one occasion I'll tell you, this is going to be in the final. Bli nedem es Hashem. That's the Jewish get-out clause, in case you forget. Adam, a person is influenced by their actions, which you do influence who you are. And therefore, every mitzvah involves actions. And on Sukkot, we're doing lots of actions. Shiaset tamid, special ones you do all the time. V'rayonav v'kol hashtonotav. Nitpashot achrei pol yadav. Everything you do follows the actions of your hands. If you do something with your hands, you give tzedakah with your hands, it's going to influence who you are. You can think good all day, he's going to say. It doesn't help. You got to do good. Do good actions, you become a good person. V'rayonav v'kol hashtonotav. Im tovim rab, whether good or bad. If you do bad stuff with your hands, if you go around slapping people, you become a nasty person. Oh, but I'm a good person. I just slap friends. Nah, it doesn't work that way. In fact, you've used your hands to steal, but I'm a good person. No. If your actions are stealing, you become a bad person. Your actions have to be used for good. Hands are involved in it. Therefore, when God wanted to give merit to the Jewish people, He gave them plenty of mitzvot. And you'll notice that all the mitzvot except 6 mitzvot, the Shisha mitzvot Tamidios, the 6 constant mitzvot, all of the mitzvot involve actions. You got to eat something, you got to smell something, you got to hear something, you got to walk into something, right? You got to do some action. So therefore, God did us a favor. Liot nafsha mitpalat behem letova tamid kol hayom. And therefore, we are constantly doing stuff. We're always involved in helping, doing this, right? Right? That's how we do stuff. Okay? Mitzvah lulav im shloshta minav. Now, this mitzvah of lulav with the 3 species, mizar shorashu. What's this about? Lefi shemei chag heim, yemei simcha dol Yisrael. You see, this time of year is a great amount of simcha. Remember, we said the word simcha appears more times in relation to Sukkot than any other holiday or any other mitzvah, I believe. Could be wrong. In the entire Torah. So God wants us to be happy. He wants us to be happy. Kiu et asifa. Why? Because we are gathering together, hatzavua, all of the produce, vaperot, v'ilam abad, bring them to the house. End of the summer. Winter's coming, let's gather all our crops. V'yaz yismechu b'nei adam, simcha rabba. People are very, very happy at this time of year. And that's why Sukkot is called Chag Asif, the holiday of the gathering in. Chag Asif is one of the names of Sukkot. I would highlight that if I were you. That's what the Torah calls it, Chag Asif. You're gathering together because you're gathering all the wonderful stuff into your home.
We don't know how that's the same shorish.
Asif is to gather together. La Sof is to gather together. Right? Yosef, Asif, yeah, gathering.
Yeah, but what's the mitzvah of this?
He hasn't made that connection yet. Right? That we know you're gathering stuff together, right? Agricultural produce into your homes. Therefore, Hashem commanded us this time to give us lots of mitzvot at this time. So one of the reasons is Hashem wants to give us mitzvah. He gives mitzvah just so that we can be happy at this time. It's like a circular argument. You got to be happy, get mitzvah. You do mitzvah, you're happy. So there's lots of mitzvot at this time of year because people are bringing it. And he says, you know what? Let your happiness at least be dependent upon mitzvah. I made lots of money. Okay, great. But let's take the money and let's use it for... And that makes me happy. Let's use that mitzvah, that money for mitzvah, and therefore your happiness will be connected to a mitzvah. You should just be happy because, hey, I'm rich now. Take the blessing you have, put it into good actions, and therefore the money you made becomes mitzvah money. That's what he says. Interesting, right? Uvyota simcha, and since you rejoicing can moshchat hachomer harbe, can distract us from having or at this time, since having too much fun can help us forget God. Sivanu Hashem lekachat bein yadein devarim hamskirim otanu with kol simcha. Aha, he says, you know what? Since when you're having too much a good time, you forget God. That's what we like, you're eating, drinking, a good time. You forget, the real reason doing it. Hashem says, let me throw in extra mitzvot. Let me throw in these reminders for you. Right? It was God's desire for this reminder to be from the same species as a source of the happiness. So why are we taking agricultural produce? He says, because you're gathering in the produce at this time. Let's take 4 of these items, right, which you're gathering from, and let's use them. So using the same stuff you're happy about, because you're making a lot of money, gathering your crops together, and take these 4 species, which are also agricultural items, so your happiness is connected. One reminds you of the other, and you get to use the happiness and the mitzvah from the same items. Why these 4 items? Well, we just looked at one reason. One reason because it represents 4 types of Jewish people. We're going to see next class, another. You know what? Let's do it now. No? Yes, no? Yes? No? Let's take a question. Let's see how many mistakes. Yeah?
You said you use happiness and mitzvah from the same items. You're talking about...
You take agricultural items, agricultural holiday, bring in Asif, Chag Asif, I'm gathering in. Oh, I'm rich, this is fantastic. You know what? I hear. Let's make your happiness and put mitzvah connected to it. So at least the happiness will be connected to a mitzvah as well, not just because you're rich. And why these items? Because these are agricultural items. They remind you one of the other. So you take the items that made you rich and you use them to celebrate the holiday as well. That's what he says. And these 4 meaning. Now, why these particular 4 agricultural items? We looked at one, and we'll do the other one next class in Mitzvah Hashem. Okay? We'll see the other connection of why these particular 4 species. Okay, marvelous.